No pressure, no pressure here. It's been a minute we all interviewed, and I was speaking for everyone myself. But starting now. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Abidemi Owokoya, and I'll be interviewing you today. I think first of all, I would give just a little bit about myself. Then you can do the same. Then we go into the more. As I said, my name is Abidemi Owokoya. Have experience in a number of things. I currently work for the GLI, and I've been here for like the past couple of, for like 8 years now. I really just enjoying like interviewing, like just seeing like students go through the program and achieve what they really set out to achieve. So it just gives me joy. If I would say outside of like work, I love to travel and I love food. So can you tell me just a little bit about yourself in like 1 minute for position today?
Sure, Abidemi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Ebun. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm excited to hear that you love to travel because that's also one of the things that I really love to do. I love to try out new things. But aside that, my name is Ebun, just like I said. I love to help people, and that encouraged me to study human physiology back here in Nigeria because, I thought I was going to be a doctor at some point. Obviously, that did not happen. Midway, I met some accounting professionals at the conference, and after listening to them, I realized that the only way to help people is not just by being a doctor, but you can also help people by helping their businesses. So I decided to be a chartered accountant. A little bit of pivot right there. I went ahead on the side and did accounting. I became a chartered accountant, moved after college to business operations and finance. I enjoyed it a little bit. I wanted to dive into something more diverse. I went into audit in one of the big fours. And after that, I moved into full-time consulting. So I'm really excited to be here right now, interviewing with you, Abidemi. Thank you so much for having me.
Great, interesting background. I love it. Just for the sake of time, thank you for sharing your background. I think it's very helpful for me. Also helps me like put things into perspective and context setting to try and understand you. But kicking us off, can you tell me why you're interested in the GLI MBA program?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Like I said, like you mentioned, I have a very diverse background, but recently and more importantly, I've had a very strong focus in global business strategy. And GLI MBA program has a very good reputation of producing transformative leaders. I've spoken to a number of people, and I realized that my background in accounting, coupled with my experience in global business transformation, aligns perfectly with GLI's emphasis on developing strategic thinkers. So I'm really excited to be interviewing, and I believe that I will be able to navigate complex international markets by being in GLI MBA program.
Thank you. It's a wonderful response. Very wonderful response, everyone. You've clearly done your research on the program, and I love the way you linked it to your background, and it shows like you've done sort of research, which is good. But pushing us forward, can you share a specific example of how you demonstrated strategic thinking in your career?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I remember about 5 years back, I led a project to restructure a multinational corporation supply chain across 3 continents, a really big project for me. We faced challenges with local regulations, cultural differences, and legacy systems. As you can imagine, there are like a lot of people on that project. But what I did was I developed a framework using one of the tools, one of the project management tools that we had at that time. It's called Sinclair. And that balanced global efficiency with local responsiveness. At the end of the day, it resulted in a 22% cost reduction and improved delivery times by 35%. That was really magnificent for me because I was moving to an upper level at that time. This experience taught me that the importance of adaptive strategy in global context, which I'm really eager to explore further at GLI. So I'm hoping that my experience at GLI would even further help me to explore more of this strategic context in a global world.
Great, and that's a wonderful experience. Example, I love when people cut costs just because everyone is looking to grow and cut costs as they go along, especially for organizations when you get through to the mature stage. I love that it demonstrates your ability to think globally, but also like acting like at the regional, like the home level. How do you see that the GLI MBA program can enhance your skill sets?
Yeah, sure.
complex challenges.
Absolutely. I think I've talked a number of times about how what my long-term goal is to do strategic consulting, especially on a global level. I've spoken to a number of people who went to GLI, and one of the major things that they talked about was the GLI immersion program, which is really fantastic to hear. Like, I'm very excited to be able to have and show my skill set while also learning across board on a global level. I'm interested especially in the immersion course and the international business negotiation workshop, which will provide me with advanced framework to approach multifaceted global issues. So I'm excited to bring in the current experience I have, but also very open-minded to be able to learn more skill set. Also, the capstone global consulting project, where I can apply new skills into the real world scenarios, especially on a global level.
Wonderful, perfect. Thank you so much, Ebun. I love that your responses shows that you have a deep understanding of our program offerings, just like even beyond like surface level. Um, I'm curious, right? Are there any questions that you have for me? I'm just
Yeah,
gonna take a minute to pause here before pushing. Okay.
yeah, sure. One of the things that I'm curious to know, I understand how AI and machine learning is like a huge deal now, very incorporated into everything that we have. Now we have ChatGPT and the similar likes being incorporated into every segment or every sector that we have now. So I'm curious to know what GLI's approach to integrating emerging technologies like AI and blockchain into the curriculum. Like, how does this program ensure that graduates are prepared to leverage these technologies in global business strategies?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question, Ebon. And I love when Candice asked me about like what we're doing as regards AI and tech strategy. As we know, the world is evolving, the world is like moving on. And if you want to be a business leader, you have to also like be in that line. So I would say that for us at GLI, we've currently revamped our tech strategy module to include AI and blockchain case studies, right? We also partner with tech giants for guest lectures and rural projects. Just thinking about like when you have like CEOs or like VP level or management level, C-suite level execs in like big techs and AI department comes to class, come and tell you about their experiences, come and share with you like things that they're like going through and how they've applied AI and blockchain in the real world, right? Because overall our aim is to be able to produce leaders that cannot only just understand these technologies, but they can apply them and they can implement them at the global business context. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to, like I said, I love to learn from people. So you talking about bringing in experts from different industries is really exciting for me, and yeah, I'm so looking forward to that.
If I can chime in here, this is beautiful. I think we should, just draw the curtains on the first interview there. That was really, really good. For me, I think that I took some notes and I just wanted to highlight some of the notes that I took from you guys actually having this interview simulation. As you can see, when they started, Abidemi had said something about traveling, and Ebun was quick to lock in on that to create the areas of commonality and say, hey, look, I also love to travel. And what that does is it just makes your interviewer like you already. People like, they like you when you have certain things in common. She was able to put a little humor when she was talking about her background as well, talking about how she wanted to save people, talking about when she was an accountant as a child. That's interesting. Also, you see how she was responding in a chronological manner, right? She was talking about herself from the earliest time till now. She connected her responses to the culture of the GLI MBA program. GLI is just something that we made up. It's not a real MBA program because I know many of you will be trying to apply. I'm happy to start one if you like it so much. And if you listen to when they asked her about a challenge that she faced in the past, she was very strategic about it. She gave the background of what was going on at the time. She talked about the problem. She talked about the solution that she deployed. She talked about the outcome, and she was using numbers, very key. If you understand, what the American, environment is like. They like numbers, and executives like numbers as well. Numbers just make it look like you know what you're doing. And then she talked about the outcome and what she learned from the situation. Her questions were also very clear. She was talking about some current events and connecting it to what the school is doing in response to those things. So that's really, really interesting. And I think that was an interesting session to watch. This is you seeing the MBA tips live being played out. Sorry, MBA interview tips that you hear all the time being played out right in front of you. So now we're going to switch, and we would, switch them. Ebun becomes the interviewer, and then Abidemi becomes the interviewee, also trying to get into the GLI MBA program. And then after this, we're going to try to open it up to everyone to ask questions. And, we're very chilled about our questions. The only question you end up not asking is the stupid one. So there's no stupid questions here. The moment you ask it is our job to make you see how important it is that you ask that question. I'm going to take myself off the spotlight now and throw it back at you guys. Ebun, take it away.
Sure, thanks, Tayo. Hey, Abidemi, welcome. We're excited to have you here. My name is Ebun, and I am the global manager. I'm the manager for GLI MBA program. I've gone through your CV, so as my colleagues, and we're excited to be having this interview today. I'll get us started by talking a little bit about myself, and I'll definitely like to know you. Is that fine?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. All right, so like I said, my name is Ebun. I'm the program coordinator. I've been at GLI for 15 years now. So have seen a lot of students go in and come, go out after 2 years and come in. And this is so exciting for me, always interviewing the next generation of students. I love to meet students from different cultural backgrounds. So let me know if you have any questions for me. But Abidemi, let me also learn about you today.
Thank you so much, Ebun. Super, super excited to meet you. Super excited to interview with you as well. Give you just a very brief about myself. My name is Abidemi, originally from Lagos, Nigeria. I started my career in supply chain There was a startup, so as you will know, you're like the CEO of your business, right? But in there, so many things, like so many processes were like, there were so many bottlenecks and so many things like moving around, and it sort of got me interested in process improvement. So I decided to pursue process improvement full time, moved to like a bigger institution where I did process improvement, like working cross-functionally with different stakeholders, just getting to understand different things at like a different level. While I was there, I decided that yes, process improvement internally was like an internal consulting kind of role, but I wanted to do externally, right? I wanted to work across different backgrounds. I wanted to work across like different sectors and solve different problems. So going off of that, I decided to move into like a big four, where I worked mainly finance and accounting consulting. So think about helping businesses when they're trying to like raise equity, like get bonds, like even helping businesses figure out like the financial reporting and all of that. I've done that for a bit now, and still like I really just enjoy solving problems across scales, helping business with their business transformation, and just like helping business grow. Outside of that, of course, because of my also like love for like diversity and stuff, and I love just experiencing like understanding different cultures, right? I love traveling personally, and one of the major things that I love about traveling is just meeting people, understanding what makes them tick, like understanding how like world is just very different on a different scale. So that's just really about me, like in a little nutshell.
Great, great. It's actually great to hear the diverse background that you have, and also love to hear that you love to travel. I was gonna ask you if there's anything that you do outside of work, but thank you for chipping that in. So I'm curious to know what attracted you to the GLI MBA program.
Thank you. That's a very good question. It's very interesting. And for me, GLI is like my top MBA program for a number of reasons, right? Like 4 reasons basically. So the first one being that the unique focus on business transformation and just the track record of producing like industry leaders. For me, over my career, I've been really focused on business transformation, and knowing that GLI has the capacity and capability to hone in on that and just like to help me sharpen that skill definitely just like appeals to me. Secondly, is the global perspective for me. like throughout my career, I've like worked in Nigeria, like schools in Nigeria, but GLI having like a global perspective, like just the diversity of like meeting different people and seeing the world from a different lens, just like wisdom for me. Then the thirdly is like the emphasis on practical hands-on learning through case studies and real world projects, right? We all know like even as much as like, yes, we want to learn like the theoretical part, I'm also really interested in seeing how these things are, how they played in like real business world. And lastly, it's all even like the network, the alumni network. I love the fact that GLI has like an extensive alumni network I can tap into when I'm trying to like make the move to the next level. So that's like 4 things for me in a nutshell.
No, that's right. I love the responses, and you are very right. We take global awareness very seriously, and I hope that you've also connected with some of our alums. I'm sure a lot of them have like very beautiful stories to talk about, talking about the experience at GLI. So yeah, I really love your responses. So it's great that you articulated well your alignment between your background and our program. But let me ask you, do you have a specific challenge that you faced in business transformation, and how did you approach that?
Sure, thank you. I think, of course, I've had like challenges like over the course of my career. And talking about the alumni, yes, I've spoken to like a couple of alumni, and they've been very responsive and said like great things about GLI. So that's one of the things I also like endears me to GLI as well. But in terms of challenge, I will tell you about a time that I led a transformation initiative for a traditional manufacturing company. Like here, the challenge here was they were trying to integrate like IoT and AI technologies into their production processes, while also managing like resistance to change from long-term employees. Right? As you know, manufacturing is like a lot more traditional. So when you kind of bring in like IoT and AI into things, you will get change, you'll get like resistance, and change management is like one of the very important things to make sure that your transformation works. To solve this, I developed a three-pronged approach. The first was like creating a clear vision of the benefits of what we're trying to achieve, right? And also trying to sell the benefits, because if you're trying to achieve transformation, you have to like really clear on what you're trying to achieve. Secondly, was implementing like a comprehensive training program, right? Creating like the gap, like this is the gap. How do you get from point A to point B? And thirdly was just establishing a cross-functional multi-innovation team that really can like bring the result home. This approach resulted in a 40% increase in productivity and significant improvement in employee buy-in, right? And this experience just highlighted for me the importance of balancing technological advancements with human factors in transformation. Like change management is just really key in trying to achieve like what we're trying to achieve. So
That's impressive. That's impressive because I mean, I'm just thinking like right now it's very important to manage both technical and human aspects of transformation. I think that's one of the things that we have to do, especially in this current generation. So how do you think GLI program will help you to take your transformation skills to the next level?
thank you. That's a very good question. I think for me, I love the GLI's advanced organizational change management course and digital transformation in global markets modules, right? They really particularly excite me because from my experience with transformation, change management is like a key and critical thing that you need to definitely like work at to be able to like achieve what you set to achieve. So the change management program and digital transformation program provide me, I believe they provide me cutting-edge frameworks for me to be able to approach large-scale transformation in diverse global contexts, right? And which is one of the things I'm aiming to achieve out of the MBA, like global diversity, just being in the global world, really. So furthermore, like GLI will also allow me to collaborate with peers from various industries, right? Broadening my perspective on transformation strategies across different sectors. I'm also really just keen on the executive mentorship program, right, which draws from like the alumni network that GLI has. And I believe that they're going to give me like valuable insights from seasoned transformation leaders as I try to like become an expert and a lead in business transformation.
Yeah, thank you, Abidemi. That demonstrates that you have a thorough understanding of our program and you have a clear vision of how you want to grow. So do you have any questions for me, or do you have any questions about GLI or our approach to developing transformation leaders?
Thank you. Yes, I do have a question. So I'm really interested in understanding how GLI incorporates sustainability and ethical considerations into their business transformation curriculum, right? In your view, how does the program prepare leaders like myself to drive transformations that are not only profitable, but also reasonable and sustainable?
Wow, that's amazing. I'm glad you brought that up because we both know that sustainability and ethics is one of the major and key topics that we have currently. So sustainability and ethics, they are like they are core components of our curriculum. So the first thing that we do is we've integrated that into our courses and we offer a dedicated module on sustainable business transformation. And the second thing is we also offer like capstone projects where we encourage people to think very deeply on all of these things. And then at the end of each capstone project, we have competitions where people can pitch up ideas because I feel like we have a generation of people that have great ideas and we love to encourage that. The other thing that we do is we challenge our students with case studies that require balancing profitability with environmental and social responsibility because we understand that everyone who passes through our program is more or less the future of tomorrow. So we love to encourage and just put in the sustainability and ethics into all of what we do. And lastly, our global impact project requires students to develop a transformation strategy for a nonprofit. So this is the practicality part of what we do. We don't just teach in class, but we encourage and ensure that our graduates can apply the skills in various contexts.
Wow, thank you so much, Ebun. That's like super, super helpful and so comprehensive, right? So I love the fact that that approach just gives me a lot of maybe peace of mind, just gives me a lot of confidence that GLI is really what I'm hoping to like. GLI is going to give me what I'm hoping to achieve out of my business school education. Thank you again, everyone.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, guys. Before we go into questions, let me quickly talk about some of the interesting things that I noticed in this other session as well. First things first, you noticed how Abidemi was talking about her career and how she started in supply chain. She mentioned that there were a lot of bottlenecks there, which is the reason why she got interested in process improvement. Now, why am I saying this? It means that when you're talking about your experience and yourself, you must be able to connect one phase to another. Something must take you from one place to another. So telling that story in that manner is always very helpful for the person to understand what you're saying. You also need to know that you are not doing a presentation. There are no slides. So the person is following up based on what you're saying. The person is trying to take notes, so you must paint the picture as clear as possible. So she had some problems that led her into learning. And when she learns, she becomes interested in a new role, and that helps her transform the roles into, whatever she's looking for. And then another thing she mentioned in there was, the reason why she loved traveling. She connected some real, some interesting reasons in there, right? Don't just talk about, oh, this is what I love doing. Try to put some context and, let them understand why you love it. One interesting thing that you must have noticed that both of them did, and this is something that I myself learned in the MBA. When a question is asked, I always say it this way, the interview is not about you, it's about the interviewer. If you have this mentality, you will be able to scale through easily. You must make your interviewer like you, right? Because that's the person that will write feedback about you. So after a question is asked, don't just respond to the question. You must make the interviewer feel good about the question he or she just asked. Oh, that's a great question. Oh, I've been thinking about this myself. Thank you for asking. Right? Those little things make the interviewer feel good, and it also gives you a little bit of time to think if you need to. Okay, so from there, I see her also responding to the question of challenges in the past in a very strategic manner. She has talked about the background of the situation. She talked about the goal. She talked about the problem. And her solution, she broke it down into a three-pronged approach. I did this, that, and that. That's very, effective and structured. And then she went ahead to talk about the results, quantifying it, saying it had a 40% increase in productivity. And then she ended up by talking about what she learned. From both of them, you must have noticed that they're both talking about alums and students a lot. That means that, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how structured your application is, These schools want you to be talking to their students and alums to have, that's the only way you can show interest in the community. You must speak with them and ensure that you understand, the culture. And then lastly, they both give each other space to ask a question. Either it's in a job interview or it's MBA interview. That's your chance to land and convert that interview, because the quality of questions that you ask really, really matters. Do not make the mistake of asking questions that you could have found on the school's website to say, hey, what kind of courses do you have? Or how many, what's your class size? No, you must ask thought-provoking questions. And you saw the kind of questions that they asked. So that's beautiful. I'm really, really also learning a lot from this session. Like, what could I have done better when I was interviewing for my MBA? Maybe I could have gotten more funding, based on how I would perform. So now I'll open the room for questions. Please go ahead, raise your hand. I'm going to pick you, and then you're able to ask your questions, and then we can proceed from there. Just like we do in many of the MBA programs, we also have the introvert approach. If you're an introvert and you don't like to speak up, please just put your question in the chat, and then we can quickly deal with it and ensure that we move on. In the meantime, if there are no questions for now, I will move on to something else and you may not be able to ask me questions again. So let's give a few minutes for questions. Great. Elijah, go for it.
Ebun Abidemi, thank you for being here. I just have a question around, pardon me, it may sound basic, but it's about the introduction. So you would hear about different schools having different approaches to how you do your tell me about yourself, or tell me about, introduce yourself. So how much of your tell me about yourself should be about your background, or how much should you focus on your professional experience? So, like, the point is, do you answer it like, oh, a job interview where you're just going about your skills and your recent professional activities, or do you go into your background, growing up, your motivations and stuff like that? So how do you just address that part of the response?
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
I have another question, if I can just ask that, so you can answer together. The second is which you noted talking about quantifying your achievements in numbers and everything. So I work as a lawyer, and that makes it a bit difficult to have to quantify my work, my achievement with numbers. But typically the only type of numbers you will see in my work is maybe the transaction value. Is that something I can reference, or how would you advise I try to quantify my achievements with numbers where I don't even work with numbers at all? So, thank you very much.
thank you. I can go first, and I think everyone can go after me. On the term about yourself, I think it's personal, but from my experience, especially with MBA, you want to start out. What they are looking for is they want to see that you know why you've done all the things you've done, right? There is a reason you just didn't fall into your experiences. That's the first thing. And they also want to know that you know where you're going to. One thing that you realize is that for a lot of these schools, they're looking at your employability, right? Because they report it as part of their metrics after you graduate. So they need to know that you can tell the story of what you've been through and where you're going to. So I would say I mix it professionally. I say a lot of things that I've done and why I've done it. I started out, and tell me about yourself, it will be different for different reasons. When I was going to my MBA, on some schools, I wanted to do healthcare financing. My tell me about yourself was very different from the schools that I was telling I wanted to do consulting. It's different, right? So telling them, oh, like I did, and if you notice, when I was talking about business transformation, I didn't start from my undergrad. The reason I didn't start from my undergrad was because I studied about chemistry. And I didn't want to repeat. Ebun did like, oh, like she wanted to be a medical doctor. I also wanted to be a medical doctor. So I just got that part out. I talked about like process improvements and leading me to transformation. So I would say look for a thread, like for everything you've done, why have I done these things, right? Yeah, I'm interested in solving problems, sure. How, like what brought about the problem solving? right? What were the things in my life that I kind of led to that point? And for every career, for like the important career moves that you've made, you need to find like a way to tie it to what brought you from where you're going to here, and what pushed you forward from that point to where you're going to. I think that's it. Just tell me a story of a career. Nobody's going to come to your resume and be like, I'm missing 10 to 80 line. But as long as you can tell a story, you can sell it to them, you can sell it to anything. So yeah, and just a little after. So not really your skills. If you tell them what you've done, I think that you would be able to tell somebody's skills from that. Like I talked about process improvement, business transformation. You can tell that, oh, like I probably have consulting skills to a certain level. Everyone talked about like accounting, finance, and what she's done. You could tell that was skills that she's had or that she's gained over time. Right. So I wanted to write a skill about Ebun. She worked in consulting, she probably like teamwork, like cross-functional skills that she could present to management. You can tease out like the person's like skills from that type of thing, right? Except, and you can maybe throw in one that you think is like difficult to tease out, but you just wanted to highlight it and flash it to them. Then you leave a bit of like the natural outside of work. I love traveling, I love food, I love this one. Just kind of soften it so it's very conversational. And this is purely and this I covered that I didn't really interview with like non-American schools. But for American schools, Americans are very chatty. They want to gist. So even if they're like very like kind of capitalist and they want to know that you know what you do, they also want you to smile. If you notice when it was something she was smiling, she was nodding. Like all those like non-verbal cues are things that they're looking for. That's first one. And second one, in terms of numbers, of course, mention your transaction deal size. Those are like the impact. Like I did accounting consulting where a lot of things I was doing was like financial statements and fine. I will tell you the revenue of like the banks that I've worked with. I will tell you their profit. Like I worked on a Pan-African bank with X net assets. I talk about like what I did for them, right? So you can tease out like the numbers, stuff like that. And even for impact, I think you can, if you read down on impact, you could tell like when it comes to you for legal assistance, what are they trying to achieve? Are they trying to, I don't know about law, are they trying to win a case and save money? Are they trying to fight for their reputation? Are they trying to just like do like an M&A and increase like their business? Stuff like that. There's a way they will tell the story. And it didn't come easy. And this is me that I did consulting before, and I did consulting post MBA actually. So it comes with time, but the story is always there. Pass it on to Ebun to add on. Thank you.
You did a pretty good job, Abidemi. Like you literally hit the nail on the head. For the first question, I'll just add that the person you are interviewing with has your CV, has read your CV, is impressed with your CV, and that's why they're getting to know you. So you don't want to come and read the same thing that's on your CV to them. Nobody cares. So you don't want to repeat, oh, I have this professional. They know you have professional experience. They've seen it. So what distinguishes you? Like, what's the new thing that you're adding? So me coming up to say, oh, where I have this background. This is what this is my passion. This is why I did what I did. Just adding to what Abidemi said. Those things are not on my CV. Those are just me adding some personal things. And again, Daya mentioned something before, like you want an interviewer to remember you. There are so many people that are lawyers. There are so many people that have done what you did. So like you're asking yourself, how will this person remember me? My introduction is what I gave is an abridged version of what I typically do, but it's not far from it. And every time I say that, in actual fact, when I was interviewing for UGA, the first thing the person asked me is, you have a very interesting background. How did you do that? I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want somebody to know that, oh, that's the girl that did this and this and this and is applying for an MBA. So you want to like leave that mark, right? So how do you leave that mark? It's not by saying that you're a lawyer. You'll be so surprised how crazy the portfolios of people these guys have. So it's just like so all these things that we are adding is just like to make you more personable, to make you more, and just like Abidemi said, in the US, people they love to chat. It might be one small thing that you say that somebody will just like say, oh yeah, like I also experienced this, like, just connect to you in a way. So I won't repeat everything she said, but like absolutely, just add those things there. Your introduction leaves a mark. Like the first thing you say when someone is interviewing you leaves a mark. So think about that. The second one is numbers. I think Abidemi did a very good job there. I'm just remembering what I said when I said, oh, improve delivery time by 35%. What does that even mean? So the first thing you ask yourself is, what's the result of what I did? Right? You helped a client to do what? I don't know. I don't know so much about law, but maybe you solved the case. Why did you solve the case? The person was fighting with somebody and did not allow the business, and hypothetically speaking, correct me if I'm spitting nonsense, but it did not allow the business to grow, right? It affected something. So you solved the problem. What's the result of the problem that you solved? Yeah, this person was able to improve his business by 30%. Yeah, that's the result. So numbers is not just like accounting, it's not just I similar to Abidemi, I worked in audit, and we don't like my numbers came from, oh, I audited this person's financial statement in time, right? It saved them not having to pay additional fees for not meeting regulation. If you filed a business case for somebody and they met the time, you've saved the person 5% of something. In actual fact, one of the numbers that I used to put is they filed their business on time, they had a good audit account, and the person, the owner of the business, got 5% raise. That's something, right? That's why somebody will call you some other time. So just think of, oh, what's the result? Like, what am I helping this person to achieve? And how does that transform to, how the person's has improved, or how the person's business has improved, or, what has that, resolved, or help the person to do better. So, but I think Abidemi did a very good job, so I'm not going to repeat a lot of what she has said. But I hope that at least gives you some context.
Yeah, and
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna just add a little bit to what both of them have said. They've said everything. There's nothing else I can say, to be honest. But I just want to reemphasize the fact that when it comes to numbers, they're not just talking about transactional numbers. No matter what you do, you can spit out some numbers, quantifying your impact. So when you say that I did this, I did that, it doesn't sound as punchy as when you quantify it. All right. As a lawyer, there's so many things that you can do that has numbers in them. And say, hey, look, I redrafted the company's employee policy, improving productivity by 25%. Ensuring that lateness in the organization reduced by 80%. And also this had an impact on employee bonuses by additional 7%, improving the organization's overall revenue by 10%, right? So there's a lot of numbers you can play with. Again, these are numbers that nobody can really hold you onto and say, hey, prove it. Those are not really numbers that you can really find any benchmark to prove, right? That's why we rely on those numbers. But there are some numbers that you can go and say that they'll put you in trouble. You go and say, oh, I got into my organization and within 6 months, I made them a revenue of $72 billion. Right? Obviously, somebody knows that you're playing games, right? So you want to keep those numbers in a way that, it's hard for anybody to verify. I improved productivity by 22%. Who can prove that, right? All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead with Adedayo. That's my namesake. Adedayo, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So my name is Adedayo. Can you confirm if you can hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so I may be taking you back because I see you at interviews, but I only just connected with you recently. And my question is still at application level. So I don't know what's your guidance on applying directly to schools, applying through the consortium or applying through Fourth Fellowship or something like that. Like what kind of guidance do you have around those things? Or what are your thoughts around it, more or less?
Okay, I remember you connected to me early this
Yeah, in the
morning
day.
on
This
LinkedIn, and then I gave you this link. Okay, so today we're doing just
interviews.
interviews, and we simulated the interviews and they're asking questions. But you see, this is why it's late 54. I can try to hold these two people and get them to answer your questions because nobody is better positioned to answer questions around Forte Fellowship and things like that than the both of them. So I'm going to let them, take a stab at it, and let's see how far they can, take you. And I'm intentionally not calling any of them. I'm just showing you how in the MBA, people are able to take leadership. They know how to hand it to each other.
Nice one. I don't know what that means. Like, can't you do everything? This is my question. Like, does it have to be one or the other? So, well, my own experience is I applied directly through the school. My school at that time, I think they have now, I don't know, when we were doing at that time, the schools, let me not say my schools, a lot of the schools that I applied to at that time did not have some of this. And applying directly through the school, you also have like the early admissions and things like that. So I did about like 8 to 10 admissions at that time. I can't remember, but I did directly through the school. So I'm curious to see if Abidemi did like through consortium or through Ford Fellow. I don't know how many people do that, but my question would be: does it have to be one or the other? Can you apply? Like if there's no, does it come with a fee? If there's no fee, my question would be do everything. Cast your net on the waters and whichever fish you catch. But I'm curious to see what that looks like, if there are like fees involved or if there, but from my experience anyway, I applied through the school for everything.
Thanks. And similarly, I also applied for the school. I didn't go through any consortium or anything. I think the only consortium I kind of know is mostly for Black Americans, African Americans, or people that have green card. I know about that one, that it has like a program, but that doesn't still stop you. I'm a 40 fellow, but I became a 40 fellow because they gave me scholarship from June. Like I literally don't know. I didn't do any extra thing. I just applied through my applications and fingers crossed.
Okay. So thank you. That answers the question, because for some of the schools I was reviewing, I was saying, do you want to apply through the consortium? So I wasn't very clear on if there were some advantages of going that way or going directly. But yeah, that answers my question.
All right, so let me give a bit more a little bit more background to what they've just said. So the consortium is only for citizens and permanent residents of the United States. Okay, so what it does is you apply to the consortium, and the consortium helps you use one application to apply to many schools, right? So that's something that saves you time and whatnot. The 40 fellow is open usually to women, and I believe that you can also leverage that one to be able to see if they would somehow be able to plead your case as a woman, because many schools are trying to ensure that the diversity numbers are looking good, right? So applying from that would not be so bad. But like Ebun said, I would rather you apply from every and anywhere, just to ensure that you are giving yourself the best opportunities out there. Applying from Nigeria or outside the US, or not as a permanent resident, I don't think that the consortium will be an option for you.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and take Bola's question. We're coming very close to the end of the day. We have 9 minutes.
There's a question in the chat, Dio, just so that you don't forget.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm going to look at that. I just want to finish Bola, and then I'll go to the question before I come to Big Ben.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Abidemi again, for the time. Thanks for making a very wonderful session. Question. This is going to be around applications as well. I just wanted to. I know since yesterday we talked a lot around about applications and how to go about them and what to do on it. But I wanted to ask, for someone who has like entrepreneurial ambitions, and that's the reason why they want to go into the MBA. I just wanted you to shed some light on how they should apply from the beginning. I know that you're not expected to start pitching your business when you're going into the MBA program, but how do you, kind of put your case forward to say, okay, this is what my desired outcome would be? And things everybody who's usually going the corporate way, and people want to be consultants, they want to be, they have specialties that the interviewers are very, probably very familiar with. How would you say, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur in this field, but this is how I want to put my chest towards the application? And you could just stress on that. Thank you.
Bola, so I'll be honest, you spoke very fast, and I'm not sure, but based on what you said, I think that you're trying to ask, how can you put in a good application as an entrepreneur?
Yes.
That's what you're trying to say. Okay, all right.
Sorry if I do speak very fast, guys. I'm learning to slow my speech a little bit. I can see Abidemi is looking like, what's he saying?
All right, sure. So I'm gonna let both of them take a stab, and then maybe I can jump on it, because I also have some experience in that area.
Why don't you go first?
All right, so this was my story applying to the MBA. When I was applying to the MBA, I already had about a decade of experience as an entrepreneur. And something about entrepreneurship that stands out is that um, your story may not be as structured as the people who have the regular 9 to 5, but trust me, you will have a lot more interesting stories, right? There will be a lot of problems that you can talk about solving. You can dive into different aspects of your business and find stories to tell. It's such a diverse, it's a source of diverse stories for you to be able to tell. You're not going to be able to be caught in one corner as an entrepreneur. Also, like I said, the schools are always, every school has like their perfect class profile in mind. So as they are admitting people, at a point they are maxed out on getting in, allowing auditors and consultants, and now they want to start putting some color, because if they don't put that color, then the class itself is going to be very boring. Because when professors get in class, like we said yesterday, they really technically do not teach much by themselves. They ask questions, get everything from you guys, put it on the board, mix it together, and give it back to you, right? So with the more diverse the class is, the more interesting the class will be. So if you have that in mind, how to tell your story will be interesting, knowing that, or you have a unique position to be able to get into that class, right? I hope I have touched that question, but if you let me, I'm going to just quickly move on. I think Lillian's question has been answered. We're just talking about documenting bullet points. Oh, okay. You're asking if you can have like a document with bullet points to guide you as you speak through your interview. I will say that you can use that for practice and ensure that you internalize it. For the interview, it should be more conversational. It should be engaging. You looking at the interviewer, they're looking at you. You panning towards the document can really cause that disconnect, and it can, bring some sort of ingenuity. I'm going to let the both of them chime in as well.
Yeah, I can take this one. And also I'll just add something to what Daya said for Bola is do your research on the school. Some schools have specific programs for entrepreneurs, and that would just be your key to, having something to leverage on. I know UGA had this entrepreneurial program that was big. They used to teach stuff. So if your school has something like that, you'll be like, yeah, tie what you do to what that is, and make them understand that this is what you see yourself doing. You're like, oh, I talked to somebody that was in the entrepreneurial program, had an amazing experience, and this is what I do, blah, 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 blah. So that can also be something that you can, add to your profile or to your interview. And for Lilia's question, look, nothing is structured. Yeah, I love it. Write bullet points. Like I remember I used to have a journal and I write like the major things. Practice as well. When you get there, let me tell you about Americans. They are so chilled. You'll be surprised. I feel like we are so buttoned up in Nigeria. They say, "What's your name?" My name is Ebun. Where did you come from? This or that. They're not like that here. Like they can take your conversation from here to here. So be chilled. Have your point. No, I love that. Be structured. At least don't first again don't go in circles and say nothing. It doesn't make sense. So have your structure. Have what you want to say. But also be relaxed. Understand that this is a person that just wants to have a conversation with you and know you. So let your bullet points just guide you. Don't go there and be reading and it won't be genuine. You're on mute, Tayo.
Oh, I really like the response. I'm going to let Abidemi chime in as well, if she has anything to add to that.
I think Ebun captured it brilliantly. Yeah, nothing to add.
Great. We just have two more people. We will take Taufik and then we will go to Abi. Taufik, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Hi, Abidemi. Thank you for taking out time to do this. Senior Man Dayo, hello. I know you can't see me, but I have my two hands up. But yeah, so Abidemi and Ebu, it was nice seeing you guys answer these questions in a conversational manner. But my question, and I guess with a lot of practice, it tends to be that way. But my question is, how do you handle oddball questions, questions that you're not immediately able to answer or know how to respond to? Is it okay to say, can I get a minute or two to think about it? So that's the first question. And Second question is, even after taking a minute or two, if you're still not able to think of something, how do you proceed?
Well, I can take that. It's very fine to ask for a moment. I will say a moment. Don't ask for a minute or two, in case they start timing you. Ask for a moment. Can you give me a moment to get my thoughts together? And this is recorded. I don't know, like you need to find an answer. Unfortunately, you just need to find something to say. You answer anyhow, say something. Americans talk a lot. Sometimes you ask them A, they tell you about Z or like CD, and they'll say it so confidently. I think what they told me and what I used when I was recruiting consulting for MBA was you can BS your way through anything. You just need to be able to confidently say it with a straight face and smile and just BS your way. They need you to sell it to them. They're not going to go back and fact check your story. If you can sell it to them, you can sell it to an employer. But you just need to find an example. Like, especially if it's like behavioral or I don't know, maybe work. And you can caveat. One of the things I did when I was interviewing was like, oh, give me a moment, think about it. Or if you ask for a moment, think about it, then when you're coming back, you better be coming back with something that's strong. That's it. When you're coming back, you better be coming back with something like super strong and structured. If you don't want to ask for a moment, you can just fill time. Oh, that's a very interesting question, right? You know, I've actually never thought of it before. And I will transparently say I have little experience with this. But let me tell you that I did something similar. Then you just rigmarole around it. So that way you're not asking for time. Because I feel like when you ask for time, like, oh, he's taking his time, then they're expecting blockbuster. But if you don't ask for time, I'm just like, that's a very interesting question. You know, I've never really thought about it that way. And I'll transparently say I don't have much experience in that area. But let me tell you about the time that I did something similar, and let me know if the example works for you. Tell them about something. As you're telling them about the thing you're telling them, right? You're multitasking and thinking if there's something else in your brain that you can bring up, right? So in case they say the example doesn't work, you have something in back burner. You just have to multitask. Unfortunately, I don't know if that was helpful.
Yep. It's super helpful.
Okay.
Super helpful. Thanks.
Ebun, do you want to touch on?
The last part of what she said is what I like. I would rather not even take a moment. If it's a case interview, take a moment. If it's a behavioral interview, I don't know, it's just weird saying, give me a moment to think, and then you're like, okay, I can remember a time where that's super weird. So like I said, you know what they call bobo, right? Again, this is recorded, so I wouldn't say a lot. Like when I was in consulting, they'll ask you, do you want the real answer or the bobo answer? You should know how to bobo. See that last part she said where related to something similar. Find a way to do like this and then go back to what you've practiced before. It's a skill. So if somebody asks you, oh, can I meet you? Let's say hypothetically, can I meet you? Somebody asks you, what is your purpose in life? Connect what's the purpose in life to can I meet you that you have practiced before. So like she said, buy time, think about it. And sometimes they ask you, oh, do you have another example? So while you're saying the boo that you're saying, be thinking of another example. But personally, I feel like it's weird saying, oh, because it's a video interview. So you're like, oh, give me a moment. And then you're like this. So what are you doing when they give you a moment? Are you writing? I don't know. It's weird. So the last part of everything Bidemi said, I agree.
Thank you very much, both of you. Let me put some structure around what they've said again. So these are, high-performing consultants, the both of them, and they've gone through certain stages, and their skills have gone way beyond a certain level, right? So some of the questions that they're responding to, they're giving you the super charged S-packed answers, right? So case interviews, don't worry about that for now. Because you're not going to be doing any case interviews for your MBA interview. And what Abidemi, said at the end is what Ebun agreed to, and is what I'm agreeing to as well. If they've asked you something that you think that you do not have the answer to, it's good to be honest, but not be too honest to show your vulnerability. Like I say to people, do never negotiate from a position of weakness. All right. So when they ask you that question, you can say, again, you're making the interviewer feel good about the questions that they're asking. Say, oh, I've really never thought about that way. This is interesting. I'm going to take some time to look it up right after, or I'm going to take some time to ensure that after this interview, I really think about it, because this is something I really want to ensure that is at the top of my, whatever, right? But, something similar that I did is this, that. That shows that you have the skills. And you'll be surprised at times, those kind of questions, they're actually looking for how you can pivot as well, how you can, dance your way around it. So I'm going to go ahead and let Abby ask her question. Abby?
Thank you very much, Dio. And thank you, Abidemi and Ebun, for spending time with us. My question is around interviews. Say, for example, the interviewer asks you that tell us something that is not on your resume about yourself. Do you go personal, or do you still keep it professional around maybe something you've done before in the past? A little bit conflicted around how to go around that if I am, for example, asked that question. Thank you.
Good question. That's a wild card. You can play it, however. That's the first thing. Somebody gives you an open check to tell you anything that's not in your CV. So first of all, sometimes you have fun facts. Sometimes you have other things that you've done. For instance, volunteering. So that's a very good way to bring up, oh yeah, absolutely. I have volunteered for, or I enjoyed volunteered for Catholic Charities Atlanta. It was a very interesting, like this guy's actually real. Tell him about one of the crazy experiences that you've had. You tell them, oh, there was one time I worked on a really interesting case. The people were homeless and stuff, like, just them. And then you can say, oh, aside to that, some of the things I also like to do is I love to travel. I love to meet other people. Do you get? So you're mixing both. You don't have to go all the way to say, go all the way social, and you also don't have to go all the way professional. So you can link it all together in a way. You don't have to say one thing. You can say, oh, I love, aside that, one of the things that my work has exposed me to is also helping other people socially. Talk about the things that you do. Oh, I remember one time that I cleaned up, environment, or I gathered people together to clean up. Like, you're showing all of those skills, right? But you're also not being all tied up together. So there's a way to mix both things together. And again, these things come with like, skill. When you do it over and over again, you can practice with other people, but like, trust me, it's a wild card. And another thing to, again, like I said, how will this person remember you after the interview? Those are the things that you think about. So don't be too generic and say, everybody knows you're a great person. If you're not a great person, they will not be interviewing you. So how will this person remember me after them? How do I also show that other social side? Because MBA is not just school. MBA is not just school. MBA is like a lot of other things. It's networking, it's leadership, it's social initiatives and all of those other things. So I'll let other folks chime in.
Okay, Abidemi.
Yeah, thank you. Like, I definitely agree with what everyone has said, like 100%. Another thing that I can add is that it's a wild card. It also gives you time to think of how to make up something that you feel like is lacking in your interview. For example, if somebody is interviewing me and I feel like we've been talking about work, we're both not smiling, right? I don't think I've shown personality. And they ask me that type of question, I'm going to be giving you like personal experience, something I think is fun that can show some personality and just make you remember me afterwards. But if it's an interview where I feel like I haven't really, like, I don't think I've said as much work that I've done, or like I answered a question that I didn't think like they really got the gist of what I'm saying, but I'll give them like a professional blockbuster. Right. But if it's been chill so far, I can still talk about my social impact experience, or I can throw it in like, okay, you want to tell your personal or professional? If it's something that is like really calm, just to like add a little bit of reference kind of thing, and let them go for it. Probably they'll talk about personal, because Americans really just like to chat, and you can talk about it. So yeah, that's what I will add.
That's good. I will just add that I will reiterate that Americans like to chat. They like to gist. So one of the things that I've done, one of the ways that I coach people towards an interview, I would say, look your interviewer up. 90% of the time, you know who is going to interview you, right? Look them up on LinkedIn, everywhere else, and try to find some data points that make them look good. Maybe the person has done something in, social impact, for example, and you have done something similar. It's just always a good time to bring it up and, try to, create that area of commonality so that the person will now be able to connect and be like, oh, I've done something like that. Or when they throw you that wild card, it's very helpful for you if you have thought about the values and the culture of the school, right? This is what the school is all about. So the things you're now saying, you are using it to tie in, your personality to fit what the school is looking for. So there's lots of ways that you can do this. And just like as Abidemi has said, you have to be the one to gauge how the interview has gone so far to know where you want to go to, to answer such a question. I would say thank you all for attending this session. We've taken their time 9 minutes over. I'll just before I let Abidemi and Ebun give us their final thoughts before they leave, let me say that, these are very, very busy people. They're high-performing people, and they might not have so much time to give us the kind of feedback that we're looking for post this session. So what I'm doing, they're both hearing it for the first time here. So what I'm going to do is, such that I did for Abisade yesterday, is I would hold the both of them responsible. I would make them put up a blog about what we've just said, how to ace an interview or something not far from that. And I will ensure that both of them go back to that blog every evening before they sleep to answer questions. So latest by Tuesday, check our social media handles. We will have the link on there to each of their blogs, and I would personally hold them responsible to ensure that every evening after their tired day from consulting, they will take a few minutes just to respond to questions on that blog. So, but if you want to find them on LinkedIn as well and just add them, that's fine. But I'm not promising that they will have the time to respond on there because of their daily schedule. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to let Abidemi and Ebun give us their final thoughts and their final tips and encouragements and whatever you think about endorsements, internal endorsements as well from members of the school's community. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dayo. Final words. I'll say, okay, maybe my final will be the answer to the person on the chat. I'll say that a lot of people, even if they're not Americans, they've been trained to look for certain things. I conducted, well, this is not MBA, but I conducted a mock interview for folks that are coming into EYP few weeks back, and I had it wrong. They will tell you what you're looking for. So whether you're Indian or you're Black or you're Nigerian, I'm Nigerian, but there are things I'm looking for. I'm Nigerian, but I'll chat with you like an American will chat with you because they've been trained to do that. So I would say, Abidemi has said a lot. Daya is the boss here. Hold him. The person that said 2 hands in the air, the person is right. They have like great experiences. Talk to people what their experiences have been. Yours would not be far from that, right? They're not reinventing anything. They'll most likely ask you what they've asked other people. So, talk to people, do your research, practice, guys. Like, don't wing interview. Especially if it's the first interview you're doing, you will flop. And these guys know they can read. Again, Nigerians are trained differently. Americans are trained differently. So don't go winging an interview. Again, don't go acting like a boss. They've seen 100 billion portfolios that are like greater. So think of, how do I make myself unique? How do I make myself, how do I make this person remember me? Right? Ask great questions, research questions. You don't have to ask just one question. It can be 1, 2, 3 questions as long as you have the time. So, ask interesting questions. Smile. Use your gestures. Very simple things like, use your gestures when you're talking. You're like, oh, that's so interesting. Let me tell you about the time when, act like you're very involved. These guys, this book they have, they're not, oh God, got it. Okay, whatever. Abidemi, over to you.
That stop the recording, please.
Wait, is recorded, but it's only going to be on Lead 54 portal, and I will take it off after 2 or 3 weeks. So you have to be a member of Lead 54 to see it, and they will not be able to export it. So don't worry about that.
You don't stop recording already.
No, just so that a few people that did not make it to this session and they're trying to interview in the next couple of weeks, I'm very, very clear about how we're putting this out. After you answer the question, I'm going to turn off the recording and see if there is anything else that you want to say after that.
It's that one I know what you're recording for. I think same thing everyone said. As someone that's done mock interviews for people, consulting, business school, etc. Like it's clear like what they're looking for. The person interviewing you is interviewing you to come into corporate America or to come to America. So whether they're Indians or they're Jamaicans, what they're looking for is what they're looking for. If I was interviewing like 3 years ago, the way I'll interview for a Nigerian candidate is probably different from the way I'll interview for an American candidate. Because on my end, I'm also like, can this person cope in the very, very network heavy American MBA school, right? Because you don't want to come somewhere and you're just like, what's going on? So regardless of national, if I'm interviewing you for a school, for example, and I don't think I can find a personality, but you might have been great if I was interviewing you for something in Nigeria, but for like an MBA school, and I'm going to report and I'm reporting this is it, but like I can't really see the culture. The cultural fits might just be like a gap kind of thing. That's what I was saying.